If you have ever seen this weird syntax in Spring AOP before and had no idea what it really meant, this video will finally clear it up. Welcome to the Real Code Show. Let's break Spring AOP down like never before. So to start off, first I need to define what is Spring AOP and what does it stand for. Spring AOP is just like another module from the Spring Framework umbrella, like it's with Spring Boot, Spring Security, Spring Data JPA. They are just modules, and also it is with the Spring AOP. Now, Spring AOP will provide you some tools that are going to helping you or improving your performance from your application, and will make you capable of intercept methods via a proxy that is a tool, the main tool that is going to be providing Spring AOP to you to intercept methods. And when you intercept methods, you are going to be injecting logic. Okay? I want to like you to memorize this thing or to capture it well, because the main thing that you are going to be doing with Spring AOP is to intercept methods and tell him, okay, what I need you to do is to first, when at the time when you intercept some methods, you are going to be injecting this logic at this right time, and where do I want to inject that logic. And by all of these constraints, we are going to be telling to Spring AOP, and Spring AOP will do the rest for us. So what is basically Spring AOP and what does it stand for? So let me explain you so simply this. In technical terms, basically is like a separations of concerns. But what does this mean? This means that whenever we want to get rid of cluttering code or cumbersome code that mostly generates into our service layer, and in the service layer is located all of our methods that we are going to be intercepting. And why? Because in the service layer basically is going to be residing all of our business logic. Also, I am not telling that we are not able to intercept other classes or other methods located or at any other packages like repositories, controllers, models, etc. Even though the models are not interceptable because they are just containing only schemas or models, though. But yeah, you can intercept whatever method you encounter in your project, and Spring AOP will do the rest. Either when you are like trying to, for every method, like to put a login system or to track the time of execution that your method takes. So all of that systems can be isolated into one place. And then by Spring AOP and your constraints that you put him, you are going to be telling, okay, I want you to inject this logic, and then thereby your methods will be injected with the code that you want. And now I want to show you the importance of integrating Spring AOP in the project. I'm going to be showing you a Spring Boot project that I have right now on my computer, and we are going to be seeing what is the importance of integrating Spring AOP. So now I have opened my Spring Boot project in IntelliJ IDEA. Also, this project is made with TimeLift, so I have just a simple class here of, well, not just class, but a file, a HTML file here, simple HTML file. And also, I want to tell you that this project will be uploaded in my GitHub repo. You can check it out on my on the description down below, and you will be redirected to the repo that is uploaded this project. So what I want to show you right now is the service layer, and you will see the importance here of Spring AOP. Now, for example, we have here this simple class that treats about payment service, and I have this method. So I want to simulate kind of a transfer here, money transfer from one account to another, passing the user ID and the amount. And we start by logging here. We tell in the console start processing payment, and we check if the user is authorized by the user ID parameter passed as a parameter. And if it's not authorized, we throw a new exception, and we log here that the access is unauthorized for this user, for this particular user. So in this case, if the user is authorized, then we are going to be starting this time tracking execution here. You can see here that I take the time in milliseconds and I save it into this variable. Now passing to this try and catch block, you can see here that the business logic is finally arrived here in this try block. And the well, I log here about so, sending a message of processing payment of the amount for the user, and the user ID passes as a parameter. And then I make another. Well, here we are supposed to to put another logic, but uh, as I said, this is like simulating a processing payment method. So in the case that is successfully made, the execution, well, we are going to be printing this process successfully made, and we're going to return something because this method is returning string value. Finally, we are going to be taking the time that took the method to execute, and we are going to be logging as a performance log the execution time. That is the difference between the end and the start time, quantified in milliseconds. Now you can see here that to make all of this to arrive finally at this logic, we have to pass all the way through all of these check-ins, security checks, time tracking systems, and imagine the time that you want to escalate this service or classes of services, and you keep doing this same thing that I have explained it here. This tends to populate so much your code, and it's not viable to be to have an escalation of this project. And imagine that I have another method, and well, the only thing that that could be left to do is to copy this again and paste it into the other method, and that's not viable. So this is the solution mainly from Spring AOP. Obviously, and although as we use Spring AOP, we're going to be realizing what we can do more. But for example, we can in this case isolate this part and this part and this part, and also this part, to isolate it and then inject it through interception by Spring AOP. And this is what we are going to be doing in a minute. And we're going to be improving this method basically, because what we intend to do here is just a business logic as intended to do. And the only thing that Spring AOP will leave us to do the job is to basically do the business logic. Now, you can see here that if I make repeatedly this process is not viable. So that's what Spring AOP comes into play. Let's see how we integrate Spring AOP in this project. Now the flow of a Spring AOP will start from the dispatcher servlet. Once we want to reach for any component stored into the Spring context, the dispatcher servlet will take charge of searching any component into the container. And you can see here that usually without Spring AOP module, the dispatcher servlet will search for any component stored into the Spring context. You can see here that the flow usually will go like this, pointing to search any component, and therefore it will search for the method that we are trying to execute. And then the dispatcher servlet will respond as a response, as an HTTP response to the web server, and then the content will be offered to the user to satisfy the HTTP request. But in this case, as the situation goes with Spring AOP and it involves a proxy into it, the scenario will not going to be like that. So the scenario will be, in this case, the dispatcher servlet will make a request to any component, but in the go of the request, it will be intercepted by Spring by the proxy. In this case, it will be intercepted, and the proxy will search for the component that the Spring dispatcher servlet is searching for. Now, the proxy will take charge of this work, and it will take one of the components that the Spring dispatcher servlet is trying to look for, and it will do the job for every method that we have into every component in the Spring context. And this is going to be involved. This is where it is going to be involved, the job of Spring AOP, because Spring AOP will approach all of these methods by the interception that has just made the proxy component here, and so that the Spring AOP is able to inject logic into these methods. Now, in this case, Spring AOP, what do we need to in order to use Spring AOP? So Spring AOP will throw us three questions for us to respond. The first question will be what do you want to inject at first glance. The second question will be when do you want to inject that logic, and where do you want to inject the logic that you are saying in the what. Okay, so we're going to be knowing or telling to these questions as the what, we're going to be referring to the aspects. The when, we're going to be referring to advices. And the point cuts, we're going to be referring to where. Okay? So these are the technical terms of Spring AOP. These are, but I have converted into questions for you to better understand this topic, because basically Spring AOP is asking us to respond these questions. Basically, how do we want to be working with Spring AOP, and how do we want to inject the logic that will be affecting any of these components in the Spring context. Now, there are some rules to take into consideration in terms of Spring AOP, because when we are talking about aspects, as you have saw in earlier in the part of the code in this video, the aspects were like the embedded code, the different systems like the login, the security, and the time tracking execution for any method. So those are the logic that we want to embed into our methods. So they are the aspects. Now the advices are when do we want to inject those aspects or those pieces of logic. And for that, to tell Spring AOP when do we want, there are certain annotations that you can see here. There are 5 main annotations. The first one is before, the second one after, then after throwing, after returning, and around. Now, before means that you are going to be injecting the logic before the method happens. After will be injecting logic after the method happens, but no mattering if it's returned with an exception or it returned different from an exception. After throwing means that you will be injecting the logic after the method returns with an exception. And after returning will be its opposite or the counterpart of after throwing, meaning that it will be returning a successful result. And around, I want you to take a look at this annotation because this gives you a full control of all of the panorama. Because around will give you the flow of control, the behavior of the methods about to happen, actually happen, and after it happened. And you can use this annotation for various uses. And so in the example that we are going to be taking later on, we're going to be using an around annotation. And you can see here that these are the 5 annotations that you have to take into account. But for simplicity, we are going to be using around because it provides me basically all of these annotations. But I am going to be using around and after throwing to have a full panorama and for you to understand better this topic. So that's the point right there. Now, in terms of point cuts, there are some rules as well. So point cuts, we had mentioned that refers to where do we want to inject the aspects. Now, in order to tell to Spring AOP where do we want to inject the aspects, there is a certain rule, because we have to write an expression, basically an expression. Don't come with into mind to reject regular expressions or something, because it's not like that as difficult as that, but it has certain rules. Because, for example, to write a point cut, you have to take into a consideration first to write the scope that the methods in interception will have. In this case, the scope, if you don't remember, it refers to if the method is private, public, or protected. So you have to name it first in that syntax. Secondly, you are going to be saying that the return type that the methods you are trying to point to will have. For example, if the method is returning a string type, well, you have to put string here. Or if the methods that you want to intercept are containing a void return method, void return type, then you are going to put here void. Or if and so on if it is and so on if it occurs with double, with integer, with boolean, you're going to put here the type returning type that the method returns. Follow then, I have separated this by a straight bar because to separate, but in the text we are not going to put these straight bars. We are just going to put a blank space. I So for this, I will explain you some examples that I have down below here. You can see them. But continuing, uh, the follow to bite all of this, the scope and the return type of method, we are going to put the package dot. You can see here the dot, the classes dot, the methods or the method that you want to approach. And finally, you are going to be putting the number of parameters that the methods will contain. Because you have to specify you have to be very detailed to Spring AOP. Okay, these are the methods that you have to intercept. And the methods that you are going to be intercepting are going to be containing this quantity of parameters. So to tell Spring AOP the quantity of parameters that it has, we can be anonymous in some way because if we want to intercept all of the methods that are contained into a class or a method, what we have to do is to write a double dot fallout. And in this case, by telling this, you are going to be saying, okay, you are going to be intercepting all of the methods, no mattering the number of parameters they have. And in this case, this is the syntax of writing a pointcut. So I'm going to give you two examples on how to write pointcuts in Spring AOP. In this case, the first, it says the scope. Okay, an asterisk will mean every scope, okay? Whether it could be private, protected, or public. Now, the return type of method. Also, take a look that I am not putting the straight bar here in the example because, as I have told you, it will be separated by a blank space. Now, the return type of method. Okay, I have told you that I want to intercept, in this case, the methods that return, no matter the scope they are, but I want to approach them. But yes, I want to approach every method that returns a string type of data. And fallout, it says that it comes the package. So the package will be com.example.www followed by a dot here, the classes, or the class in this case. The class will be this class 1. So this corresponds to this part, okay? And the methods, if I want to reach to a certain method or a particular method, I have to put here the name of the method exactly that it has. And if I am like too lazy to put the number of parameters that it has, I can leave it there as a double dot fallout, double fallout dots here. But it's more recommendable to put the number of parameters here. So I remember that in the example earlier, I have put 2 parameters. In this case, where the string, the user ID, and the other one was the double and the amount of money, right? So you have to put the number of parameters and the name of the parameters that the method has. In this case, this is the example of a pointcut. If you haven't understand it yet, you have to follow this rule: the scope first, then the return type of the method, then the package, then the classes, then the methods that you want to point to, and the number of parameters, okay? So I am going to give you another example. Let's see this last example. This says that with this asterisk, we are going to be heading or trying to intercept every method that is scoped as private, protected, or public. So in this case, we are not writing the return type of the method. You can see here that I I haven't put a void or a string or double or integer because I have omitted it. And why have I omitted it? Because when you are when you don't put the return type of the method, you are telling basically to Spring AOP, okay, you are going to be intercepting every method, no mattering its return type. Okay, so take that into account. Then you're going to be saying the package. Okay, the package will be again the com.example.www, the class, because it separates followed by a dot here, and you're going to be putting here a dot again to put the methods, and you're going to be putting another dot. Why? Because we want to intercept all of the methods that contains the class 1. Okay. So to search for all of the methods, we have to put first a dot here and an asterisk. Because by the asterisk, we are telling to Spring AOP, okay, you are going to be intercepting all of the methods that contains the class 1 that I am telling to you. Okay? So this is like the variations here, and where given that you are going to be intercepting every method, you don't know the number of parameters that every method contains, so you have to be anonymous. And to be anonymous, I have explained to you that to put the number anonymous or generalized way number of parameters to intercept all of the methods, you have to put this syntax here to tell to Spring AOP to not take care of the number of parameters, just to intercept them no matter the number of parameters the method has. So in this case, you're going to be putting the double dot followed into the parentheses. So these are the two examples of how to write a point cut. You can see here that following this syntax, you are going to be guiding yourself to write the point cuts whatever you want. So these are the whole schema for how Spring AOP is behaving in this case and how it functions as a whole. So we are going to be delving into the code again, and I am going to be explaining you how can we integrate Spring AOP in the example I explained to you before. So what we are going to be doing in this code again, we are getting back into this IDE and in the project that I had. So you remember that I have this a lot of code embedded into this method, but I am now going to get rid of all of this code. Now take a look at this of what I am going to be getting rid of. So I am going to get rid of all of this part, and see this. This is so short compared to the amount of lines that I did have on the past. Let's make this. Let's leave this as the log that I want to print on, and let's get rid of all of this part here. So now we have now deleted all of the code that was uh, basically not doing the scalable job for purposes, but we have isolated right now into the aspects. And what are the aspects? Remember that the aspects will be the logic that you will be injecting by the interception of the proxy. In this case, we have isolated all of that code that you have saw that I get rid of, and I got rid of, and I have isolated it into one class. So the class, let me present it to you, that is located into the aspects package here. And you can see here that this is quite a few amount of code, but I want to explain you very detailed here. So in this case, first of all, what you have to do first in order to make an aspects class, you have to annotate it with an aspect annotation, and also you have to annotate it with a component. And you have to combine these two annotations in order to make a login aspects class. And you could be questioning yourself, why do I need to seriously to annotate this class with two annotations? Well, basically the aspect will function on that you are going to be telling to Spring Framework that this class will be behaving like an aspect. So this will be a part of the Spring AOP component. And also the component annotation will be to tell to Spring Framework, okay, you are going to be storing this class as an object being, as a being object, for the dispatcher servlet to be able to tell, okay, to be interceptable to the proxy. Okay, you have this component stored into your Spring context, so let me intercept it, and inject the code that I want to inject. So that's the part of the proxy for you to understand it very well. So yeah, this is the content of the class. So let me explain you briefly what I have done here. Um, I have put this a constant because I have embedded the security system that you may remember that I have done it in well, that I have into this method actually. But I have, as I mentioned to you, I have isolated all of those systems into one class, and you can see here that I have embedded those systems here. So we're going here by parts. So these are going to be the user permitted. Now, having all of this, we are going to be opening the part for the aspect itself. So first of all, this weird thing that you can see here is what I have explained it into in the theory part, that the around, this is an advice, and this will give you a full control over your method execution. So you can see here that the around advice can be a little bit tricky for at first glance to understand, but don't be afraid for that because I am here to explain to you. Okay, so the value first. What is going to be requiring as the value? Remember, point cuts, point cuts, point cuts. The value will be holding the point cut here. And what are we going to be telling as a point cut to our around advice? Okay, so we are telling here. Okay, whenever the method execution takes into, we are going to make a full control over it whenever it executes. Okay, so by this statement or this word execution, we are telling, okay, you are going to be looking always when the method is on execution. Now, this syntax here may be familiar for you because I have explained it moments ago, that when you put this kind of asterisk, you are telling first this that this join point will be to be intercepted for every method, no matter its scope. It could be public, private, or protected. Okay. Now you can see here that this is another thing that I have explained, that I have omitted here the type of returning that the method returns. In this case, I am not putting any string or double or boolean because I am telling to Spring AOP, okay, you are not going to take care of what the methods are going to be returning. Just intercept them all and just take a look at what I am telling to you where they are located. So in this case, having passed uh, that, we are going to be telling, okay, but the class that I want to tell you, and the methods that where they are located, I'm going to be telling you, okay, they are located at com.example.aop. Why? Why am I putting this all of this name here of the package? Because take a look at my project structure. Com.example, okay, .aop, dot services. Okay, we are searching for the service package here, right? And then the class, the name of the class, payment service. Okay, that's right. And lastly, the process payment. This is the name of the method, right? Isn't it? Yeah, indeed it is. And we are passing here the two parameters that it requires or it suggests. The one is for the user ID, that is type of string, and the two one is the double reference into the amount of money that we are going to be passing to this method. And also we are telling by this is something like recommendable for every use case that you make for a round, but make it mandatory whenever you use this around advice, because you are required to put the args, the arguments that you are passing here, and you are going to be telling, okay, the arguments that I am passing here, the use is going to be the user ID that I am passing as a string, and the amount that I am passing as a double uh, object here. And the around advice also needs to be past the arg names. And what this means, actually this means that you are going to be telling, okay, at the around advice, we are going to be passing the proceeding join point. So these are going to be the objects that the aspect will be using actually. And you have to pass three parameters in this case: the proceeding join point, that this will give you a full control over it, and I'm going to explain you that in 1 second. So just let me explain you this first part, and then I will delve into that. So, and then I have to pass the user ID and the amount that I am passing by here. So these are the two parameters that I am passing as the method it requires, and this parameter is the method that requires the advice. Okay, now let me explain you what proceeding join point means. So this might be tricky for you, but here we are to explain that in this video. Proceeding join point, you are going to be passing this object whenever you use an around advice. Why? Because whenever you while you don't execute the proceeding join point, because the proceeding join point comes with a specific method to tell to Spring AOP, okay, now here we are going to be putting the limit that will divide from the before of the execution of the method and after the execution of the method. So all of or everything that happens before I call that particular method from the proceeding join point will be meaning or will be behaving to the Spring AOP that all of the logic that I put before I call the proceeding join point method will be charged before on the method of the method of execution that I am trying to intercept. And whenever I call the proceeding join point method, this all of that logic will be on behalf of the after execution of the method. So that's what the proceeding join point means actually. This might be tricky a little bit, but it will be simple as a butter once you understand that very well. But this is now fluff here, because uh, the only thing that you are going to be calling here is just the proceed method here to tell Spring AOP, okay, here we are going to be dividing either for the before part and the after execution part. Because remember, when you involve the around advice, you are having full control over the method execution. Okay? Okay. Now, having all of that said, what we're going to be doing is, also we're going to be telling that this method will be throwing a throwable object whenever it throws an exception. And we're going to be returning a type of object here from the method, because this proceeding join point will require for us to return an object, a type of object, right? But we have here the three systems embedded that we had before into this service method here. And we have saved all of that code and isolated them successfully into this class. Isn't that awesome? Bro, this is awesome, because I have embedded this execution system here to log before the method execution happens. Remember, all of this is before the method execution happens, okay? Because once I call this line here by the proceeding join point and dot proceed, I am, as I told you, I am making like a divisor from the before the logic before the method execution starts and the after the method have executed. So this logic here will be executed before the method executes. So I am going to be taking, okay, I'm going to be logging here method execution started, and by taking the proceeding join point here, I'm going to take the signature. This is a method that comes integrated within this object, and I am going to be converting to a string. So what I am doing here, I am taking the name, the specific, the full complete name of the method that is being actually that is being currently executed in this case. And also I have the security system embedded here. This was the thing that I had here before, and I did make use of this method to do that. But we are not doing that anymore because I have embedded it into this class. And you can see here that if the user ID passed as a parameter, and if it is equal to the constant that I have put as a property here, I am going to be telling to the user, okay, the user is authorized to make a payment of the amount of money by the user that is passing as a parameter. Otherwise, I am going to be telling, okay, user is not authorized to make this payment. And I am going here to throw a new exception. So this is why I put a throwable statement here that the method could throw an exception. So this is the security system that I had embedded into this method. This is awesome. This is awesome because this will be injected by Spring AOP. And once I have made all of this logic, I am ready to call, okay, I am going to proceed with the execution of the method, right? Because I have, imagine that I have already intercepted the method of the service, but I decide when to execute the method. So I am telling with this line, okay, now you are good to execute. Okay, now the process executes, and it takes this logic after its execution. So I am going to be taking the finishing time, and I'm going to be saving here, and I'm going to make the time duration, and I'm going to be saving it into this variable, and finally I'm going to be logging into the console, and then I am going to be returning the object that was returned by the preceding join point. So this is all of the logic. This is, there's no more tricky part here. And you can see here that I have embedded the three systems that I did have on this process payment method. That currently it looks nice, it looks fine here because I have just and only the business logic, and all of the validations are isolated and put away to just then be intercepted and injected all of this. So this generates a very ordered type of code. And you can see here that after I have another method that is an after throwing, and the same thing. I point to the same method, and well, in case of after the method I have executed, and if the thrown an exception, I will be calling this method, and this method will be logging on the console that some error was being thrown. So this is all for the Spring AOP class. And another thing that I want to show you is that I did have a controller class here, and the only thing that I do here is that I make a model and view object here, and then I just return what the payment service and the process payment method returns to me, and I pass the user 123 and the amount of money that requires as a parameter. So I am going to be executing it again because I had to make proof if this functioned very well. And finally, we have the execution right here. So I have done the execution into the browser. You can see here that I have searched for the localhost port 8080, and it says to me the payment has been processed successfully. And what about the logs? Take a look at the logs in the console. You can see here that there was a log of method execution has started. by what? By the string. Look at this. The string, this is the return type of the method. And this points me directly to the method that was that thrown this message exactly. Take a look at this, because com.example.aop.services.payment service that process payment. The process payment is the name of the method, and also tells me the parameters that it has. And so truthfully, it is talking about this process payment method here, the very exactly method that we wanted to point at. And then it says me, okay, there's a log, user is authorized to make a payment. And do you remember where do we put that? Yes, we put that into this around advice. We have put that into this security system here. So it entered into this statement and printed this log. You can see here that this is not a lie. And the processing of the payment, this is a log that was thrown very specifically from the execution of the method now, and the method execution has successfully finished. And you can see here that the time taken was 72 milliseconds approximately for the execution of the method that we wanted to point at. And there's nothing more. So this is what we have for this tutorial. So this was exactly what I was treating about into this video. I want to thank you if you have stayed until this part of this video, and I hope that you have learned something new with Spring AOP, and so was I by learning more by doing this video. And well, don't forget that the GitHub repo is going to be available for you to download the project that I have done, and for you to see more exactly what I have done into that project. Also, this is classic one. This is a classic one. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel first, please. And if you have liked this video, please don't hesitate to give me a thumbs up for this video and recommend this video. And because I have that's the only thing you can do for supporting this channel, and for me to keep growing up and keep uploading more videos like this one. And well, I will be pending on the commentary box. If you leave any comments down there, I will love to respond to your comments and see what's going on there. So we're going to be seeing until the next time, and take care and have a good day. Goodbye.